So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the greatest and most honest watch market update show in the world. Absolutely true what we're telling you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the only public service watch announcement channel out there. There's nobody. Don't look for somebody like me and Sweet Kid Kino. You're never gonna find it, ladies and gentlemen. You're never gonna find that. We are the most honest channel there is. Honest watch channel out there, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a doozy. We have a doozy prepared for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Today I had a very busy day at work, and I had too many things in my mind, and just things. And Sweet Kid Kino told me you need to do a live stream today. Don't even announce it. Just surprise them and go in the air, because we don't even do no promotion. We just go in the air whatever we want. I think most of you already know that we go in the air between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. So I don't need to do none of this stuff of promoting and putting a thumbnail. But I had a very busy day, and Sweet Kid Kino told me you need to do a live stream today because it's very important. So I'm doing it, ladies and gentlemen. I want you guys to know something too. To the ones that don't know, we have a private watch group under my name, Juan Felipe Nieves, is on Bookface. You go to About and you'll find there Opus in Time. And maybe, you guys request to join the channel. Maybe Sweet Kid Kino and Samantha will let you in the group, if you fit the credentials. But that's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you something because this he was telling me this. You were saying this to our organic watch channel subscribers, and I know I heard when you said it, and he remembers when I said this. I told all of you, ladies and gentlemen, I told all of you, please listen to me, please. I told all of you, if you want to make $1,000 real quick, you buy gold, pure gold. You buy an ounce of pure gold, and you're gonna make $1,000. I said that to you when it was at $4,000. 3,000. It went to 4,000. Then I said again. People went crazy when I said, look, it's at $5,000 a troy ounce. You could have made $1,000. And then some people wrote to me and they told me, well, Juan, you said. And I quote, and he's right. They're right. My organic watch channel subscribers told me, hey, Juan, you said that when it would hit $5,000, you were going to sell all your gold. And I did say that. But ladies and gentlemen, are you aware? Are you aware what's happening with precious metals, ladies and gentlemen? Are you aware, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, your hair is going to blow back, and your socks are gonna fall off, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to listen to me. You Google it. But ladies and gentlemen, pure gold, and I have to say it, pure gold, 24 karat gold, the troy ounce of gold. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get scared. I'm scared already as it is. It's at $5,500 a troy ounce. Kino, eso da miedo, Kino. Eso da miedo. 5,000, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, last week on Tuesday or Wednesday, it went to $4,751, and I thought that was crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, a matter of a week, it's at $5,500 a troy ounce. The banks all over the world are going crazy. The banks are going crazy because they wanna turn in all their treasuries and just buy gold. Because his gold is going all the way to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know what it is? $5,500 a troy ounce in a week. Ladies and gentlemen, people made $2,000 already. In the last 3 weeks, they made $2,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you to buy gold. I'm not telling you to buy any precious metal. I'm telling you my experiences. I opened my mouth and I said that I was going to sell all my gold watches and scrap them and melt them. But ladies and gentlemen, this thing is just going up to the moon. It's going to Mars. You know, it's scary. Does anybody have anything to say to me? Because you guys don't even say a comment. You know, you guys are just there like momos. You know what a momo is? You Google it, because I'm not going to tell you what a momo is. You know, I'm not going to tell you what a momo is. But I have been telling you guys for the last 3 years, when gold was, not 3 years, 3 years and a half, when it was at $1,500. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stop telling you that gold today is at $5,500 a troy ounce. I repeat it to you one more time until it penetrates your brain cells. It's at $5,500 a troy ounce, Papa. 5,000, Papi. 5,000. Let that shit sink in your head. Let it sink in your head. This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. I can't even believe what's going on. Gold is out of control. The banks are going crazy. They're saying, take all the treasury. Take everything. We just want gold. The banks just want gold, ladies and gentlemen. They want gold. And then you have his little cousin in the back seat. You know who's gold's little cousin? Do you guys know who gold's little cousin is? It's the white stuff, ladies and gentlemen. The white stuff, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know about the white stuff. You think it's Scarface. You think it's Tony Montana. You don't know who the white stuff is. Ladies and gentlemen, gold has a little cousin, and his name is White Stuff, and he's sitting in the back of the Cadillac convertible, you know? Unbelievable, and you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this, but silver, ladies and gentlemen, is at $120 a troy ounce, Papi. $120 a troy ounce, ladies and gentlemen. How can I explain to you what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How can I explain to you when I can't even explain myself what's going on no more? I have become a monster telling you people about precious metal. I'm self-proclaimed. Kino, no te meta. No te meta, Kino, no te meta. Kino wants to get involved and he wants to get some kind of credit. We're going to give it to him. Tienes crédito, pero no te metas en esto, Kino. No te metas. This is crazy. Gold is out of control. The banks, you guys are not listening to me. The banks are going crazy. Eddie Monster, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you know, Eddie Monster, listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, this is scary. When you see, you know, gold going all the way to the moon, and then you see gold's cousin, the white stuff, sitting in the back, and the white stuff is going to $120 a troy ounce. Papi, silver was una mierda. Silver was worthless. Nobody, people would see silver on the floor and would just walk by. They wouldn't even pick it up. And silver today is at $120. You know, 3 numbers, $120 a troy ounce. I don't care. You Google it, ladies and gentlemen. You Google it. I'm in a different frequency from you guys. I'm in Australia right now. I'm in Australia with the guy, you know, from Australia, the kangaroo, you know, George Clooney over there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is crazy what's happening. This is crazy what is happening, ladies and gentlemen. And platinum, ladies and gentlemen, is at $2,700 a troy ounce. Everything that's a precious metal is going all the way to the moon, Papi. The show that I got for you guys today, Prepare, is going to blow your hair back and knock your socks off. I'm telling you, what I have for you today, Prepare, it's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable. I'm going to come and get all of you. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on. Kino, no te asuste. No te asuste. Kino's a little bit, you know, because he see me a little bit nervous. Dame la pastilla. Dame la pastilla. Dame la pastilla del corazón. I'm going to take my heart pill. Hold on, guys, you know. Dame la pastilla del corazón. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Okay. Dame. Come on. Okay. What I got for you guys is unbelievable. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Hublot. Yes. Do you know what this is, ladies and gentlemen? You people don't know what this is, you know? I brought out something this is a heavy artillery, whether you want to believe it or not. This is a Hublot, you know? A king. You know what a king is? This is the king, ladies and gentlemen. The king power. But you don't know what that is. This is a tourbillon, you know? This is a tourbillon. Do yourself a favor and Google what a Hublot Cruz DS is. You know what a Cruz Diez is? You don't know what this is. A Cruz Diez. You know what that is. You don't know about this kind of stuff. You don't know about this kind of stuff. And if I tell you how much this watch costs, you're not going to believe me. But I'm not going to tell you today. I'll tell you for another day. This is platinum. This is all platinum. This is a platinum watch. This thing is unbelievable, but it's not worth more than gold. It's not worth more than gold. It's unbelievable. Look at that. It's unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you some more. I told you platinum is at $2,700 a troy ounce. $2,700 a troy ounce, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you today, ladies and gentlemen, the palladium, papi, everything is like this. Like this. Everything going up. Everything going up. Even copper. Copper? You know who copper is? Copper the Fox. Copper. Remember Copper? From the Fox and the Hound? Unbelievable copper. It's at $2,100 the palladium. And ladies and gentlemen, you want to know about rhodium? Ladies and gentlemen, rhodium is at an even. I'm going to put it even. Everything today is even. I don't have time for looking for numbers. At $11,000 a troy ounce. Papi, everything is like this. This is crazy what's going on in the world, papi. Exactly. 62 gramos. 62 gramos te compra hoy un submarino. 62 grams today buys your submariner, papi. No sean pendejo. Listen to me. This is the only channel that's going to bring you the truth and nothing but the truth. We're different from all these lambones and palomos, all these people that give you these cheap knockoff content. This is the real content, papi. I'm letting you know what's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, are you guys scared of really what's happening? Gold is at $5,500. Gold is at $5,500 a troy ounce. Listen to me. I'm a master, self-proclaimed master, and I cannot believe where gold is at. I cannot believe. My friends were telling me today, Papi, I don't know what to do. I don't know if to push a little, couple of kilos, into the refinery and get paid, get greased up. They were telling me, they were all telling me. And I said, listen, I don't know what to tell you what's happening, brother. You do whatever you want with your money. You do whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want. Pero, papi, 5,500 tablas para el joyete, papá. Para el joyete, con presión para adentro, papi. Rompiendo orto, papá. $5,500 a troy ounce. Every little rat that I know out there is going bananas, taking their daughter's little charm chain and the little azabache, for the bad eye, for the evil eye, and they're melting it, ladies and gentlemen. You don't understand what's going on, papi. La situación está jodida, papá. Está jodida. I know what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Things are not well in the world. No tan bien, papi. No es tan bien. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know something. I want you to know something, ladies and gentlemen. I told you that nobody has content out there for you guys. Nobody has content. Nobody. And it was sad. It was sad because I told you guys, and I'm going to tell you again today, it was sad that I told you that the watch show in Miami was dead. And bodies were floating in the Miami River. With Supreme backpacks, hoodies, Montclair, ripped jeans, bodies, cangrejos were coming out of the ears. Crabs were coming out of the ear. It was dead. It was dead, ladies and gentlemen, in your favorite channel. Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, with his sidekick, Jiminy Cricket, with the Chia Pet spray can hair and the Pete Rose baseball cap, hair, They were in the show, and the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown was there, and the mad scientist, and I think one of the fathers he has a shaved head, it reminds me of, he was there in the show too. Ladies and gentlemen, it was an embarrassment, that show. It was nobody in that show. Papi, nobody was in that show. Don't let them get you taken. Don't let them get you taken. There was nobody in that show. But the craziest thing is they were so bored that they took a Samsonite suitcase, and they put there their own watches, inside the Samsonite. They put there the watches, and you see the mad scientist and Jiminy Cricket, the Chia Pet Spray can here, saying that one of their most valuable customers left them a suitcase with 30 watches to sell. And he was there telling him how much each watch cost. And he had a total of, they will pay him for the watches $2.7 million. You guys gotta be asleep to believe all this stage content they're injecting in you guys. That show was dead, ladies and gentlemen. That show was dead. It was all staged. And when they would show the hallways, the thing was empty. There was nobody there. They were over there in the design district over there, drinking Budweiser and, Miller High Life. You know what I'm saying? But tan jodido, papa. You cannot continue believing these crumb bums. You cannot continue believing these crumb bums with this stage content. And that guy, Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, has 700,000 fake subscribers, fake views, fake likes, fake comments. Everything is fake about this. The watch market is dead, okay? There it is. You got that there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on fire today. I spoke to you about a gentleman like around 9 months ago. And when I spoke to you about that gentleman, I got thunder lightning. They hit the TV antenna and they shut me down. You know what I'm saying? Bots over there, robots from India. No more pigs this Christmas. No more pigs, And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. I got to tell you the truth, papi. Those crumb bums, you cannot believe those crumb bums and sandbags, because you guys are recovering tomato cans. We have awakened you. ¿No verdad, Kino? Lo despertamos. I'm telling you, you know who he is. Pobrecito Eugene. Pobrecito. Silky little hands with a little, hair piece and, paint his lips, and Kino want to finish him off. Kino's going to finish him off. But ladies and gentlemen, to a serious note, I spoke to you about, say 9 months ago, I spoke to you about a gentleman that he wasn't obeying. He wasn't obeying his masters. He wasn't obeying his masters, ladies and gentlemen. And I told you that basically he was going to end up, for disrespecting them, they were going to have to turn him off, And he was spending money and doing all kind of crazy things. I want to ask a question to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. If you are worth $1.3 billion, would you be pawning watches out there? I repeat to you one more time. If you have $1.3 billion, of yourself, you're saying that you have $1.3 billion, will you be pawning watches? I'm asking you that question. Can anybody answer me back, or you guys don't want to answer me back? Zero, right? Okay, no. Okay, zero, I don't know. Hell no, right? You got $1.3 billion. You've been claiming that you have 1.3, but I've been telling all of you that the number that he's using is using numbers that the owners have lent him. You can hold this. You can say you have this, but it's our money because we're the owners of all this, Because all these people that they're very, very rich, that they have millions of dollars, basically they don't own nothing. The owners of the world own that. I know this is tough for you guys, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something, Ladies and gentlemen, on May the 1st of 2015, there was a big thing going on. It was one of the biggest boxing fights ever. They were saying it was one of the biggest boxing fights ever, ladies and gentlemen. And Hublot had this new watch, which is something like this, like the King Power. But this one is a tourbillon. This is a different story. This is a tourbillon, The Cruise, yes. If you Google it, you know what this is all about. This is platinum. But on that year and that month, they were doing something big. They were preparing to, announce, some kind of a teamwork together with another sports athlete, and they were doing this watch. And this watch is the King Power, ladies and gentlemen. the Hublot King Power. Unbelievable looking watch, ladies and gentlemen. So Hublot hosted a big press conference, hosted a big press conference, and they called the main star of the night, and it was, ladies and gentlemen, it was no other than Mr. I can't say his name too much because I might get a TV antenna, thunder lightning, and knock down this. What you're hearing today is unbelievable for free. What you guys hearing for free. You know who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Ellos no saben Kino. Si ustedes son unos huele, ellos no saben Kino. Esta gente no saben Kino. I can. Thank you very much, coño, Mr. Dona. Coño, Mr. Dona, eres grande, right? There it is. Mr. Dona's putting it there. So this guy, that guy, the money guy, they were making a big thing, and they were going to make a big show, and they were going to be showing the watch in the Caesar's Palace, because it was the biggest event of 2015, the biggest sports event, and they say of ever, It was the money guy against the guy from the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, ladies and gentlemen, Manny Pacquiao. And it was a big fight, ladies and gentlemen. So the people over there from Hublot is unbelievable. You're not going to believe this. The Hublot CEO at that moment was Ricardo Guadalupe. Do you know who Ricardo Guadalupe is? Ricardo Guadalupe was the one that did this, these watches. He was the CEO back then in 2015. Today, last year, they changed and they got another person, So Ricardo's there talking. He's making a big party, and he's inviting people from the press, people from Hollywood, George Clooney, the guy, what's his name? James LeBron, Jordan, just people, people, singers, ZJ, they were all there, they were all there. And ladies and gentlemen, they were giving this man that he says that he is worth I'm going to put it higher, $1.3 billion, ladies and gentlemen. And I ask you one more time, saludos, Mr. Wicked, saludos, Alex, saludos, all of you, saludos, Thurston, whoever it is, saludos to all of you. I love all of you. I love America. No more pigs this Christmas. And ladies and gentlemen, these people were there, they were gathering up, and, they were all in a big party, and they were doing something big because they were giving this watch to this person. This watch was so powerful that you're not going to believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, this had emerald diamonds, emerald diamonds and emeralds. And then on the face, on the dial, was all green. It was all green, and the strap was green. It's an unbelievable watch. And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. It had the letters WBC, World Boxing Council, They were giving this to that guy, the guy that's worth $1.3 billion, ladies and gentlemen. I got to show these people this because I have to keep on teaching them for free, Because he's been lying to you that he's worth 1.3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the watch. This is the watch right here. This is the watch, if you can see it. There it is, Look at that. Diamonds all over the casing. Emerald green, emeralds on the bezel. And on the center, it had WBC, World Boxing Council. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. This person, he wasn't obeying nobody. This guy didn't obey nobody because, he was getting watches, and everything from all these people, It might be lame. It might be ugly. I'm just showing you that this man is telling you that he's worth $1.3 billion. That's the watch. You saw it. There it is. You saw it. There it is right there, okay? There it is. And ladies and gentlemen, so they're all there. And, before the fight and the weigh-in, they gifted him the watch, a big box, like a big briefcase, and they give him the watch. Unbelievable. Yes, extra tacky. That's beautiful. Like mine, it's extra tacky too, but it's what it is, So, ladies and gentlemen, they give him the watch, They give this watch to this guy, and he's happy with the watch. And I'm going to tell you something, because I got to tell you something. Pretty soon, you're going to see this kid, money. He's going to be wrestling in WWF to make some money. He's going to be greeting people. I don't know if you ever knew this, but there was a boxer by the name of Joe Louis. Joe Louis. And they took him as a freak show. With all the respect, I'm saying that on Mr. Lewis, because he was an unbelievable boxer and an unbelievable human being. And he served this country in the army in the United States. He did great things. But it was so sad what they did with him. They put him in the Caesar's Palace, Joe Louis, to greet people when they were entering the hotel. So don't be surprised if you see one day that small little man, that says he was worth $1.3 billion, greeting people probably in the, in the Taj Mahal. I don't know, one of those hotels, You know what I'm trying to say, So I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this because you need to know about this. I told you the explanation, and everything that's going on with this unbelievable man. And the reason I'm doing this video this live stream is because I want to finish what I told you 10 months ago, that he has an $18 million, company, Jacob Watch, full of diamonds and all that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for your information, ladies and gentlemen, that man pounded that watch, a WBC, gifted Hublot watch by Ricardo Guadalupe. The night before the fight, gave him that watch, and the man pounded that watch, ladies and gentlemen, and he lost it. But this is the man that's worth $1.3 billion. And I told you guys 10 months ago, does anybody remember when I did that live stream? Does anybody? Just tell me yes, and I'll stop quickly. I'll keep on going. Does anybody remember? So, ladies and gentlemen, a friend of mine's, he bought that watch. A friend of mine's, that WBC watch. This is so you understand that these people have ownership and they must obey and respect people. You cannot go over those people, because those people, they have horns and they don't, whenever they can press a button and your bank account freezes. That's all I got to tell you. You guys don't know about this, but does anybody remember me making a video and talking about this guy, Floyd Mayweather, and thunder lightning hit my TV antenna and everything, went away? You don't remember that? Well, I told you about that stuff, but you guys forget about it, But I want to continue, because I want to keep on showing you that this guy's a sketch. He's a sketch like the rest, who are a bunch of slave puppets. And they must obey. And when they don't obey, they take everything from you. Well, he pawned that watch. He lost that watch. My friend got that watch. But that's not the end of the story, ladies and gentlemen. The story goes this way, goes even deeper. Here, in Florida, he has pawned over $22 million in watches. But he's worth $1.3 billion. And he says that he's lost his money because he bought some apartment buildings over there in New York City, which he spent like $450 million. No, Papa, you have to obey people, ladies and gentlemen. You have to respect the owners. If you are in that club, those are the conditions. You have to listen to these people and obey these people. You saw what happened to Mike Tyson. He had over $300 million and he didn't have a penny to piss on. But he was obedient. He kept his mouth quiet. He did a couple of shows of a comedian, and they gave him a fight like around a year ago with that white gentleman, that doesn't know how to fight. And he got paid $20 million, $30 million. And today he's making commercials for Hard Rock and all that because he was obedient, ladies and gentlemen. You guys don't understand about that. You guys don't understand about this. And, I don't want to get you guys dizzy, but I want you to understand how life is. What happens. Like an example, ladies and gentlemen, like an example. I know we have been distracted in the last week with, snowstorms, cold weather. This is everything that I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is allegedly. And let me salute him. Let me salute him. Let me salute him. Let me salute the owl, the Bohemian Grove. Let me salute him, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you what's going on so you can keep. I'm going to go back to this gentleman, Mr. Money. But let me explain to you. We were distracted last week, ladies and gentlemen, with the bad weather, and probably none of you heard about a plane crash that happened. A private plane. They had 7 people. They were flying out of Maine, Portland, Maine, somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. And they were flying out of there, ladies and gentlemen. But these people were, at one moment they were being obedient, and at one moment they weren't. Listen to the short story so you know what's going on. And these people were flying in a private jet. They were flying from Portland, Maine to France. They were flying over there. And it was from a very, very powerful law firm. A very powerful law firm, from Houston, Texas, ladies and gentlemen. Listen and learn. Listen and learn that tonight you're going to be dreaming about what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you, you're going to be dreaming about it tonight. Because I'm trying to show you something that you need to obey. When you are in that world, you need to obey. Because the horns will come out and get you. The horns will come out and get you like they got Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. And that's fine. I don't expect you to know about this. I don't expect you. I expect you to continue skip hopping around through life like bunny rabbits, You know what I'm saying? Like Goldilocks. But ladies and gentlemen, that private plane was owned by a very, very high profile law firm. They're only dedicated to do high-end profile cases. And you might be asking, like, what kind of case? Well, that law firm, ladies and gentlemen, had a verdict against Johnson & Johnson. You know who Johnson & Johnson is? Colgate, Crest, baby powder, I don't know, oil, the oil that guy will use, all this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Johnson & Johnson, if you look in your bathroom, you have everything from Johnson & Johnson. And that law firm got a verdict on their favor. Listen to what I'm going to say now. This is going to blow your hair back and knock your socks off. They got a verdict against Johnson & Johnson, that law firm, for $8 billion. Did you hear me? Not 8 million, not 80 million, not 800 million, 8 billion with a B, 8 billion. That's how big that law firm is. $8 billion. And then I'm going to give you a little more, a little more. Then they got $2 billion more on another verdict against Roundup. You know what Roundup is? Roundup. Like rounding up cattle, like rounding up horses. You know what I'm trying to say? Roundup, They got $2 billion. $2 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, they were over there in Portland, They were ready to go in that private jet, to France, all of them. And in that plane, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe it or not, in that plane was Kurt Arnold. You know who Kurt Arnold is? Kurt Arnold and Jason Itkin. Jason Itkin and Kurt Arnold were on that plane, ladies and gentlemen. These were the big 2 lawyers from that law firm from Houston, Texas, ladies and gentlemen. And those people were getting ready to sign on the dotted line. These people were, you have to obey. You cannot be playing the 2 sides of the fences because these people were basically belong to the blue team. You got the blue team and you got the red team. They were big time blue team supporters, but they were doing something. They were saying it was going to be probably the biggest case in probably U.S. history or in the world. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I don't expect you guys to know, but somebody shoot something if you want something there, and I'll say, you're right. They were ready to sign in the dotted line on the biggest high profile case against ice cream. Ice cream. You know what ice cream is? Ice cream. You must obey. And they were playing the two sides of the fences. So they started founding the Texas Red Foundation. They were playing both sides of the fences. They were blue and they were red. And you can't play that way. You can't play. They let you go with Johnson & Johnson for $8 billion. They let you go with $2 billion with Roundup, rounding up migrants, But then they went and they started saying, let's farm now the Texas Red Team. You know who the Texas Red Team is, right? You know about that, right? So, when you don't obey, the consequences are very high. The consequences are very, very high. And this is why I'm telling you what happened to that little guy, the little boxer. He didn't know who he was playing with. They shut him up so much, he hasn't said a word ever again. And pretty soon, he's going to be making little freak show wrestling matches and greeting people in the Holiday Inn and all that good stuff, because this is the way they punish you. So those people were there. They were ready to go, and they were ready to sign the biggest case ever against ice cream. Does anybody know what ice cream is? Come on, somebody put it there. Don't be afraid. Exactly. Don't be, put it there. Ice cream. They were doing a big case. The only thing is that when they were taking off, from, over there from Portland, Maine, I think it's Sequino's one that wrote it down. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they're taking off, from Portland, Maine, blah, blah, blah. They're flying away. And suddenly the plane didn't even fly away, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Like that guy. What was his name? That white guy that says, Ice, Ice, Baby. Ice, that song. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Ice, Ice, Baby, But the plane, ladies and gentlemen, so you understand how powerful this is. The plane was on the I don't know how do you say that word? When you're in the like the I don't know how to say, ¿cómo se dice aquí en eso? Road. I don't know cómo se llama la porquería esa. They were doing something against with that place over there. Minnesota, Minneapolis, runway. They were on the runway. Exactly. They were on the runway and they're there, Listen to this. And then the runway like that, moving. And ladies and gentlemen, this is how powerful this is, This is how powerful this is. The runway. They were on the runway. And when they were moving, this is what happens when you don't obey. Obey. And suddenly the plane went like this. It went backwards. Everybody died. Everybody died. You understand me? They were on the runway. You guys show me the word runway, right? They were on the runway, to take off. And, we know there was a big storm, a big blizzard, a big, blast, cold weather blast, all that good stuff. Ice, black ice, all that, all that bullshit, was all around, And suddenly the plane is moving and he just turned around. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you more because I'm stupid like that. Guess what number was the runway? Guess what number was the airport runway where they were going? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what number was the runway? Okay, that's pretty good, Grande. That's pretty good too. You're getting close. No, you're getting close. Mira, papi. You don't know what runway that was? What runway number? You can only go to what? There you go. There you go, Mr. Donut. 33, papi. 33, papá. El 33, papi. Te descojona. El 33. You're gonna play both sides of the fences. You're gonna frog our friends from Johnson & Johnson. You're going to frog us with Roundup, and now you want to frog us with Ice Ice Baby? Oh, yeah? That's how it is? We're going to give you 33. Pa fuera todo mundo. So what I'm trying to tell you is when you're in that game, you have to obey by their rules because they salute the owl at the Bohemian Grove. I'm telling you what it is. Game over, papi. You guys don't believe me. You Google it, papi. Google it. No sean huele bicho. No sean huele bichos. You don't know about this. This is why I sit down at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, in my backyard. I start looking already and reading at things already. I probably read 20 things already at 5:45 a.m. in the morning. 5:45 a.m. Yes, maybe I am a tinfoil. Maybe I am a tinfoil conspiracy theory. Leave me that way. But they're gone. The biggest, look into it. One of, man, I'm going to say the biggest law firm of high profile cases. Have you heard about a lawsuit of $8 billion? 8 billones, papi, 8 billion. 8 billion. And Roundup, 2 billion. And you know what they were talking about, ICE? Do you know how many people they have picked up and, you know, I got to be careful. Me van a traer un tondo y se jodió esto. Kino, esto es mucho para ellos. This is why I tell you, this is... Thank you, Alex. Thank you. This is why I tell you that you guys are skip hopping around through life listening to these mashuganas. You know, manishma, man, manishma. Manishma means hello, hello. You know, you know these people doing this garbage content to you guys, opening a briefcase with 40 watches which are theirs and making it look like we're buying it from our favorite customer. No comas mierda. No comas mierda. You need to respect when you're in that league. If you can't respect, you got to get out because you're going to lose your health. One way or the other, you're going to lose your health. This is why all these slaves are quiet, you know, from that guy, you know, ZJ and the other guy, you know, what's his name? I forgot his name. The guy that's, you know, he has long hair, he's tall, and he likes to smoke a lot. What's his name? These are all servants, you know, these are all slaves. These are all puppets. And you must obey or your plane like this. Look at this, the plane. It flipped. There. Bing, 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 bing. Ya. Se terminó. No more party. Papi, I know it's hard for you to believe that, but don't believe me. Google it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Just tell me yes. Has anybody ever heard about this? I mean, this happened last week. And they do it at the precise moment. You know, at the precise moment. Distraction, you know, snowstorm. Everybody's watching the TV, watching the weather, below zero. Yes, of course. Look at that. Papi, one person said there, yes, of course. You listen to what he wrote down. He's one of your pals. He's one of your pals. Listen to what he says. And that's how it works, Papa. This is why that guy, the boxer with the Hublot watch, pretty soon, I'm telling you, he's going to be greeting people at the Hotel 8, you know, over there in the front door. I'm telling you, Papi, esta gente no cree en nadie. You don't play with those people. This is why they all get together every year. I think it's in July or June over there in Bohemian Grove, and they salute the owl, you know, and they make already plans who's going to be the next president, who's going to be the next governor of Las Vegas, of California. Papi, tú una jodienda, papa. Tú una jodienda. Listen to me. They said that the last words they heard on the magic box of the porque nothing cannot appear, you know, no recording, no nothing. You know, they were going from Portland, Maine to France to celebrate the signing of what I just finished telling you, of the biggest case in history. Ice Ice Baby. It didn't happen, Bobby. You cannot play the two sides. Te la pelan, te rompen el orto. Aquí no son así estos muchachos para que aprendan estos muchachos. Tienen que aprender algo. You gotta learn something, you know? The black box, you know what they heard? I see some light. That's it. I see some light. Se fue. Did anybody read about this? Or you guys were too busy watching the snowstorm hitting you? You know? They quiet, you know? They distract you. Bendito papá, eso es así, papi. Nada más, the light. Ya se fue. It's like that. A press of a button, you know? Empty. You know it, Mr. Donut. The black box is set one more time. You know, in a black box, you find everything. You hear the screams, you hear everything. Tower 1, Tower 2, you know, runway, you know, runway 33. Let that sink in your head. Runway 33, 33. Paco Gambino told me everything, and my father. Paco Gambino, my father, told me everything. Papi, it's what it is. So that guy, you know, with the Hublot watch, no more, don't talk. You want to stay with your health, be quiet. You don't have no more money, you're broke, you went crazy in the clubs, you know, money, but that's our money, not your money. We just lend it to you. Papi, when you sign for that, they're not playing around with you. I hope you learned something about Runway 33, you know? Tú entiendes lo que hay, papá. Gracias, papi. Gracias, manito. Gracias, pa. I make it funny for you guys. I make it silly. Pero, papi, if you look into it, you go, man, that guy he's telling us things laughing, and he's talking about ice cream and ice, baby. But it's all there. And now we ain't got no more, you know, Kurt Arnold, and we ain't got no more Jason, you know, Itkin. They're gone. They're gone. You know, that's it. You know, you got to respect those owners of the world. The owners of the world, they don't play around, papi. Te dan un poquito de pita. Te dan un poquito de pita. You know, they give you a bit of line, fishing line. Then when they want pa, let's go. You're done. You're gonna what? You're gonna make a sue. You're gonna sue, and you're gonna try to get a verdict. You know, for $100 billion for all the people that we have sent back. You know, sent back, you know? You know what I'm trying to say. You put the words in there. I'm going to give you a watch market update because that's what your mind wants, a watch market update. So te voy a complacer. I'm going to give you a watch market update. All right? But, you know, did you guys learn something today about obeying? Did you learn something about obeying? Good for you, Alex. Congratulations on that beautiful Starbucks. Beautiful. That's a beautiful watch, Papa. Beautiful watch. Congratulations to you, Alex. Well deserved. Papi, listen to me. There are watches all over the place. There are watches all over the place. I'm going to tell you one more time if you didn't hear me. There was a show in Miami and I told you it was dead. It was dead. Completely dead. And these guys, these clowns, they're an embarrassment. They made a 45-minute video content on the empty show that nobody purchased and nothing. Don't believe anything they're telling you. They're spoofing up prices, you know, just spoofing prices up because they want to make it look, papi, there's nothing out there, man. There's nothing. I'm going to also, and this week, I'm going to talk to you about a watch that I have that belonged to a real big figure that I have now, which is this watch right here, okay? Which is this watch, which I have now. And if you guys know what this watch is all about, you know, don't bring it there. Don't bring it there. That's right. Don't bring it there, Alex. Don't take that watch to the UK because te quitan las medias y quitarte los zapatos. You know, they'll take off your socks off without taking off your shoes over there in London. Right, guys? Let me give you a watch market update because I wanted to talk to you about, You know, that guy, I'm going to say his name, Floyd Mayweather. He's busted. $20 million are being pawned here in Florida, but he's worth $1.3 million. Come on, Bobby. I don't even have $1 million, man. I don't even have $1 million, and I haven't felt that I have to go pawn one of my watches. Sweet Kino pounded his Cuban chain. Kino, I love you, Kino. Believable, that Kino, you know? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm saying? The Mooks. The Mooks, ladies and gentlemen. There's no channel like this one, guys. There's no channel. There's no channel like us. It's all for free here. Everything is for free. You know, my grandchildren gave me this little coffee mug. It's unbelievable, you know? You know, my grandson, they're unbelievable, those kids. They love me, you know? They love Grandpa. Ladies and gentlemen, our first watch of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, is a Rolex Rose Gold. Thank you very much, Randy. Randy. So you did know about this, Randy, huh? You didn't know about this. I'm very happy that you did know about this. You know, because people don't know about this. What really bugged me out, reading this at 5:45 in the morning. You know, my wife is getting up and I'm there outside. You know, seeing the sun come out. It said that it was on runway. It gave me goosebumps. You know, when it said it was on runway 33. I said, coño, pum, pa, pum, fuera. You know, everything I say is allegedly, Papi. Everything I say is allegedly, you know? Allegedly. I'm saluting them, you know? Salute the owl, gentlemen. Show me the owl. Show me the owl. Show me the owl, Papi. Show me the owl, like they do over there in Bohemian Grove. They say, show me the owl, and all of them show the owl. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it, Wicked. Wicked, did you learn something today about runway 33? Did you learn something? That's it, the owl, Papi, the owl. Show me the owl. They say, when they see the owl, they respect us. They don't no more TV antenna, you know, none of that stuff. Everything is cool. TV antenna tower, knocking it down. We're good, Papi. We're good. We're good. We're good. Ladies and gentlemen. No, you're very welcome, Wicked. You're very welcome. And thank you again for being here live. Thank you so CVR, cockpit voice pre-recorder. That's right. Unbelievable. They said, again, you know, like that. Light. Over, man. One more time. Ready? Light. Over. You know what happened to, you know what happened to Mamba? You know the Black Mamba? You know who the Black Mamba is? The Black Mamba was a gentleman that played over there for the Lakers, Los Angeles, you know? And he got in a helicopter and, you know, he hit one of the Hollywood mountains. And the other one too, you know, the other one too from Furious Fast, you know, Furious Fast? You know, Furious Fast. You know, they had the, you know, the handsome, you know, young looking, you know, kid, you know, and he was in a Porsche. You know, a Porsche with 1,200 horsepower. And, you know, he was about, you know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah, exactly, that guy, you know? That guy. That's it right there. Thank you, Mr. Zeman. Thank you. Yeah, that guy. He was in a Porsche, you know? But he was about to talk about something about traffic lights, traffic tickets, you know? Traffic, all that, you know, traffic, all the tickets, traffic airlines, you know? And he was about to say something and his Porsche just blew up. You don't know about that kind of stuff. That's all right. I don't expect you to know about that. Exactly. It was a Porsche GT. Coño, está claro, papá. It was a Porsche GT, papi. Guess what? Boom. You know, I'm telling you what's going on. You know, like the houses over there in Hawaii, you know, they would throw lasers, you know, and they were all burned. And some, you know, some of them were all burned around and the beautiful one was just intact. Unbelievable, these people. Believable. Ladies and gentlemen, our first watch is a Rolex Rose Gold Daytona Oyster Flex 40 millimeter. Okay, all right. A wife was okay. Well, that's good. That's look at that. You have your theory, and I respect your theory. Good for you. Listen to what this gentleman is telling us. He's saying that his wife was there. Okay, Abi, the owners of the world do whatever they want, man. Nosotros somos unos mocosos. We're slaves. We're the masses. We're dodo birds. We're not in their club. We're not even going to get near that club. If you want to eat that club, who was the gentleman that just wrote that? I think it was I don't know, something Jelly Bean 12, right? Jelly Bean 12. Well, let me tell you something, Jelly Bean 12. To join that club, you got to eat a big pound of shit and swallow it. And then, chase it down, with a glass of piss. There you go. That's for starters, right? You're never going to be in that club. You never will. You'll fly out of there. You'll run out of there. Sales corriendo como una loca, una cabra enferma. I'm just saying that, right, guys? Rolex Rose Gold Daytona Oyster Flex 40 millimeter chocolate dial. New reference 126515LN. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and don't pay. Don't pay for that watch more than $44,700. The watch market is dead. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. That's right. That's how it is, Papa. That's how it is. You want to join that? How bad you want it? The first thing they tell you is, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want to become a sports figure? How bad do you want to become a Hollywood actor? How bad do you want to become a performer, a singer? And I'll do anything. You do anything? Yes. Okay. Tráele la mierda. Bring him some dog shit here. Go ahead. Eat this shit. Now we know you're for real. Now we know you're for real. Drink the piss. Chase it down with some piss. Now we know you're for real. You probably don't even believe that. You probably won't even, you think it's a lie, but that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Rolex stainless steel Oyster Perpetual 36 millimeter cotton candy. The cotton candy. 36. Reference number 126000. There it is. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Baba. Thank you. Thank you. Don't pay for that watch more. You do what? This is for Valentine's Day. I'm warming you guys up for Valentine's Day. Don't pay for that 36 millimeter cotton candy. Oyster Perpetual. Absolutely. Don't pay for more than $9,000. Wicked, you're absolutely right. You're wicked. You're absolutely right. Don't pay more than $9,300 and dumping. You do whatever you want. It's your money, papi. It's your money. There's not a channel like this one, papi. There's not a channel like this one. 36 millimeter. 36. Nobody wants. It's for a lady, for a little, flee me, Nobody wants it. Let me salute him. I don't want him to get mad at me. There you go. Let me salute him, They get mad at me, Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is an unbelievable watch. It's a Rolex Rose Gold GMT Tiger Dial. Ladies and gentlemen, you're paying for this Tiger Dial, for the dial. You're paying easily, you're paying, I say 50% of the watch. You're paying $40,000 for that watch in the secondary gray watch market. Secondary, okay? Secondary, I got that watch. You just change the dial I have and you put a Tiger dial and it's the same watch, Same watch. Rolex GMT Tiger dial, rose gold, 40 millimeter, 126715. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $82,000. And you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, this watch has become an embarrassment. This watch has become an embarrassment. And this is the watch that you should start thinking about it. Just thinking about it, not because of the watch, the looks, but what it has. This is a Rolex white gold GMT, with an unbelievable, not the best looking green dial there is. And it has a green and black ceramic bezel. And it comes in an oyster bracelet and it's white gold. They call it the Sprite, They call this a Sprite. I never understood. That's why I say Rolex sometimes gets it wrong itself. They get it wrong, They get it wrong too. And they got this watch. And ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to believe it or not, don't pay for that watch. Does anybody? Yeah, you saw it. You saw it. You saw it, Mr. Donut. You saw it. Don't pay for that watch, for that GMT. Beautiful watch, you know, the Sprite and gold. Unbelievable. 126724, I believe is what it is. This is white gold, guys. White gold. You saw the Thunder Lightning, guys. You felt it, right? Don't, don't pay for that watch more than $43,500, all right? It's time for you to look at that watch because, you know, it's a nice gold watch. It's a GMT. Yeah, it's all gold, white gold, white gold. I said already 43. I said $43,500, all right? But you're right. Both of you are right. All of you are right, right? Be careful with that watch. The watch market is dead in a backyard pool and floating face down like this. It's dead. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand. I have fun doing this, Papi. I have fun. I blow steam. You know, I'm under a lot of stress with sweet Kino. You know, Kino drives me crazy, you know, at work. You know, Kino is a relative of mine. See, Kino, yo le dije que tú eres primo mío. Kino's my cousin. He doesn't like to be showing his face and all that stuff because if you guys find out who Kino is, you guys, you know, I'm just telling you what it is, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I'm telling you what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about A. Lang and Son. A. Lang and Son, right? Exactly, Thurston. Exactly. Exactly. And Costco, I'm telling you, Costco, man, I did a live video for you guys. And Costco, I went there shopping, you know, for some goods with my wife. And I'm telling you, they had the gold was at $5,119. And today it's at $5,500. Una cosa loco, brother. Una cosa loco. We're not gonna change a little bit. We're gonna give you A. Lang and Son, rose gold, leather strap, beautiful watch, you know, the Datograph, reference number 403032. This is an unbelievable watch. Beautiful looking time machine, guys. And I'm talking about un relosazo, you know. This is an incredible watch. I can't really see this that well, but I'm going to tell you, this is a 39 millimeter watch. And this watch, this is a German company that makes A. Lang and Son. But I'm telling you, I put this watch brand, and maybe you guys don't know about this. Maybe you do. But I put A. Lang and Son in the same line of, you know, watch movements with the likes of F.P. Journe, Patek Philippe. They're there. They are there. And this watch, you know, at one moment was, you know, the Journes. Yeah, absolutely. It was up there, $90,000. And I'm going to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy, but I got to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. Don't pay for that watch more. And I mean, don't pay for that watch more than $39,000. $39,000. It's a beautiful, beautiful A. Lang and Son. All right? You have that one, right? It's what it is. It's what it is. It's a beautiful, don't listen to me. A. Lang and Son, for some reason, I remember, you know, 20 years ago, I mean, you would say A. Lang and Son, and Papi, it was the same thing as saying, you know, any of the watches that you think, you know? I said 39. You're very good. Absolutely. Man, you guys are on target. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Rolex Le Mans. Rolex Le Mans. It has a black dial with white gauges and rose gold. Beautiful watch. Beautiful watch. And I'm going to tell all of you, this is the new reference number. No sean lambones. Don't pay for that Le Mans. Black dial, white gauges. You know, real, true Le Mans. Don't pay more. I mean, you do whatever you want. It's your money. But don't pay for that watch more than $193,000. They have it out there for 207, 205, you know, but this is my number. I'm the big boss. I'm the boss. You know Eugene, aka Jacob McChicken. He calls me the big boss. He's right. I am. Unbelievable, that Eugene. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 33, 33, 33. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is another A. Lang and Son. This is a watch that, when I tell you about, this is the Z work, the C work, A. Lang and Son Z work. Beautiful watch. 42 millimeter. 42 millimeter. Rose gold. Reference number 142031. Black dial. The legendary, jumping. This is a monster watch. This right here, esto es un relosazo. This is the legendary A. Lang and Son. That's unbelievable. 42. It's, mi hermano, this, jumping numbers, has the jumping numbers. Does anybody, you know what I'm trying to say? Thank you, Mr. Dona Coño. Help me out here, please. I can't do this all by myself. Help me out. Help me out. But I got to tell you the truth. When you got people out there, they're going crazy and they want this watch. It's an amazing watch. This is an amazing watch, Thank you. Thank you very much, Randy. So, thank you, Randy. This is a beautiful monster watch. Look at that. Thurston Howard saying $120. Mr. Don is saying 65. They're all over the place. I take a couple of more numbers. Come on, don't be afraid. Go ahead. This is good. This is good. Hockey puck on your wrist. Exactly. It's a monster, papi. This is like, how can I say? This is in the same level as a FP Journe, as a Patek Philippe. Coño, Randy, you're a cheater. Randy, you're a cheater. Cheater. Randy's a cheater, ladies and gentlemen. Randy's a cheater. Wicker, you too. You're becoming a cheater too. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is an unbelievable watch. And I gotta hand it to Randy, to be honest. He said $85,000. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, I can say exactly the number he's at, but I'm not. I gotta say the number that I put down. Don't pay for that beautiful A. Lang and Son, Jumping numbers. Unbelievable. A hockey puck. Don't pay for that watch more than $84,900. There you go, Randy. Laugh now. Unbelievable. He got it, Papi. I'm going to show it to you when the show's over. I'm going to show it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you about this watch, you're not going to believe me, ladies and gentlemen. This watch right here is a Rolex white gold Daytona with a meteorite dial. The old reference number. The old reference number, ladies and gentlemen, 116519. White gold meteorite dial. Does anybody know what I'm going to tell you? It's been discontinued. Collector's grade, collector's choice, collector's unit, collector's dream. The fantasy names they give you guys so you guys can get injected. Anybody knows? Meteorite dial, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody knows? $74,000 and dropping. Okay. This is a man that's not scared to say what he wants to. And much respect to you. I'm with you, my brother, Mr. Premium. I'm with you. Nobody knows? Nobody knows. 76. Very good. 76 too. But I'm going to have to tell you because it's getting late. Don't pay for that watch, and you do whatever you want. But don't pay for that watch more than $81,900 and ¡dapping! ¡Dapping! Kino, jálame para atrás. Jálame para atrás para estos muchachos. Jálame, Kino. Jálame. Kino, jálame. ¡Dapping! ¡Dapping! ¡Dapping with my elbow! Hold on. Suéltame, Kino. Suéltame, Kino. Suéltame. ¡Dapping! Suéltame, Kino. Suéltame. Telling you, you do whatever you want. Don't let those crumb bums tell you that watch show was good. That watch show was dead. Dead. Nobody's buying watches. Smart money is staying away from luxury goods. Smart money is staying away from luxury goods. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. You do whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about something about, you guys have heard about the Rolex annual perpetual calendar, right? All those names, from Rolex. They're gonna be making now those sport watches, perpetual, and all that good stuff. Kino didn't want to let go of me, Alex. It's unbelievable, this guy. Sweet kick Kino. But listen to this. A lot of us have been, not looking at this watch, but this watch here is a Rolex Perpetual, yellow gold, the 1908. Have you heard of that one? La Bubu, no more. Even my daughter doesn't want to see no more La Bubu. My daughter, they retired from La Bubu. I think the fever is over. Or that dog, that Rolex Perpetual, yellow gold 1908, with a white dial. Unbelievable looking watch, ladies and gentlemen. And the reference number of this watch is the 52508. Beautiful watch, but it's fully yellow gold and all that. And the Rolex has new movement makers. They're coming from Carl F. Bucarer, to work with them now. So they're going to start making, perpetual calendar, this, tourbillon, all that good stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, this watch, no, it's not a leather strap. It's fully, and let me tell you, the bracelet, it's not a Jubilee, but it has the same finish as a Jubilee. It's more thin, it's very flat, and I have carried it in my hand, and it's heavy. It's heavy because it's very well compacted. It's not hollow, so the watch is nice, and this watch has been going up slowly but surely. So maybe even if you think it's a dog, just take a look at it. Let me see it. There's going to be a big show coming now in March. It's called the Miami Beach Antique Show of Watches, and you're going to see that watch there. Take a look at it. If you're here in Miami, go to the show. It's in Miami Beach. You're probably going to see me there, and you can take pictures of me. Unbelievable. Exactly. There it is, Doc Mick of Florida. And I'm going to tell you, Doc Mick is a man that knows. He said $50,000. I'm not going to tell you $50,000, but don't pay for that watch more than $43,800. Okay? Just to let you know, I'm not going to give it a big drop because I have some kind of respect for that watch. So you do whatever you want. The 1908 yellow gold white dial, tremendo reloj. You do whatever you want, right, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a watch, so you understand where we're at. This is a Rolex stainless steel Sky Dweller with an oyster bracelet. Rolex stainless steel Sky Dweller with an oyster bracelet with a white dial. Okay? From the year 2019. Reference number 326934. You ready for this? Well, here it goes. If somebody's offering you this watch, this is a beautiful watch. But for some reason, the oyster bracelet is not a Jubilee bracelet, and the white dial is, a little bit, I like it. But if somebody's offering you this watch, this is what you should pay for this watch. Super Dog. Ay, Dios mío. Super Dog with fleas. Okay. Don't pay for that watch. Listen to this, guys. Calling you $16,000. Here it goes. Don't pay for it more than $15,800, right? 15,800. Sir, that's your number. If you want to pay them 19, that's up to you. I'm giving you the number. It's dead. This watch is dead in a backyard septic tank and smelly. Smelly. Dead. Una cagazón. Okay? And ladies and gentlemen, this is my last watch of the evening. And again, this is A. Lange & Son. Okay? A. Lange & Son. The AOS. Unbelievable watch, This is a beautiful looking watch. The Grand Saxona. You know what the Saxona is? Saxona, like a saxophone, Saxona. Unbelievable. These German people are unbelievable, Reference number is the 307029 with a 40.5 millimeter casing. You know, this is a new watch and it has a retail price, I believe, of $27,000. You know, I'm telling you, Lang & Son es una jodienda. And I'm going to tell you, sir, if you're looking at that A. Lang & Son, do yourself a favor and don't pay for that watch. This is our last watch market update of the evening. Coño, que pasó, Premium? Good for you, brother. Good for you, coño. Hold on. Se fue alguien aquí adelante. I'm sorry, Mr. Premium. Mr. Adani, I don't know, but he's right. Don't pay for that watch more. Okay, all of you are right. I take it back. All of you are right. Don't pay for that watch more than $19,400. All right? That is my truthful watch market update. You guys can do whatever you want with those prices. Use it to your advantage. Don't be stupid. Don't be dodo birds. Don't be sandbags, crumb bums, window lickers, tomato cans, possum kickers, cow tippers. Don't be none of the above, ladies and gentlemen, right? Be smart. Stay awake. Don't be like the guy, Floyd Mayweather, and don't be like the people from over there, from that big law firm over there in Houston, you know? You know what happened to the jet? Lights! Lights out. Over. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. Thank you very much for all your support by being in this channel live. It means a whole lot to us. You know, because if there's nobody here, you know, why are we making the show for? But you guys are here, so thank you very much. And if you guys live in the north somewhere, be very careful. Ciao, papa. Ciao, Thurston. Gracias por todo. Ciao, Alex. Gracias por todo. Alex, thank you so much, Mr. Donor. Who was it again? Randy. Thank you, Randy. También. All of you. Thank you so much. If you're from the north, stay warm, guys. Stay warm. There's a lot of people out there homeless, having a hard time. Be good, all right, guys? I love all of you. You guys mean everything to me. Stay cool, stay right. Don't change on me, none of you. Los quiero mucho. Bendiciones. Love you all. Woo! Bye, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.